Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. Welcome back to my playthrough of Medal of Honor European Assault. So we are doing Chapter 3 now, the Soviet Union, and this is the part that I know a lot of people have been requesting for, a lot of people have wanted to see this part. A lot of people say that the Soviet Union missions are probably the best missions in the game. But anyways, if you're wondering what I am wearing here, this is a reproduction of a Soviet World War II coat. This is actually the coat that the Soviets would actually have during the Battle of Stalingrad, especially in the fall and the winter time. And this under here, this is actually a reproduction of also their button shirt and also their a flat cap here. Now, not all the soldiers had the flat caps. Some of them had helmets, but because of shortages, a lot of them also did actually wear the flat caps into battle. But anyways, I wanted to also be clear, I'm not a communist, I don't support communism, I'm just a big history guy, I like history a lot, and so we were dressing up in different uniforms during this playthrough, and so I wanted to have a pretty accurate uniform to what the Soviet soldiers wore in Stalingrad during World War II. If you guys want to learn more about the Battle of Stalingrad, I talked a lot about it in my Call of Duty World at War playthrough when I did the historical accuracy mod. I will also link that at the end if you want to check that out, but I explained pretty much the whole battle and what had happened in there. This Battle of Stalingrad is considered the worst battle in human history. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the Battle of Mamayev Kurgan, which you will see coming up here in Medal of Honor European Assault, climbing Mamayev Hill. So, the Battle of Stalingrad is considered the worst battle in human history, with millions of casualties. It went from August 1942 until early February 1943, so about half a year. As the Germans were approaching the city of Stalingrad in August 1942, the Soviets tried to fortify the hill of Mamayev Kurgan. The Germans ended up taking it in early September 1942. By mid-September 1942, the Soviets had launched a counterattack and had taken back most of the hill. And then later in that exact same month, the Germans did their own counterattack and then retook huge parts of the hill again. And then in October 1942, you had some of the most fearsome fighting, the worst there, where the hill could actually change sides 8 times in a single day. Some people say that the hill changed sides 30 times in a single month. So one side would take the hill, the next day they would lose it, then they would retake it, constantly advances and counterattacks on that hill. So why were both sides so desperate to control this hill? Why was it so important? And the hill isn't even that large. The hill is around 1,000 meters long, and the top of the hill is between 200 to 400 meters long. It's only a few football fields. But the reason that they were trying to desperately control this small area is because whoever controlled that hill could end up winning the Battle of Stalingrad. Because from that hill, you could see the entire city of Stalingrad, and if the Germans controlled that hill, they could fire artillery pretty much anywhere that they wanted in Stalingrad with pretty good accuracy, and they could also see Soviet movement. Now, the Soviets had controlled the eastern side across the Volga. The Volga is a river that runs through Stalingrad. It's also the largest river in Europe, over 2,000 miles long. The Soviets were bringing the majority of their troops across the Volga by train. And then what they were doing is they were putting them on boats and ships and sending them across. The Germans, if they controlled that hill, could fire artillery at the ships crossing, and also possibly even at the rail across, endangering the Soviet troops. So the Soviets desperately needed to control that hill. They could not let them have that. And when the Soviets advanced up on that hill, they were extremely close to the Germans. Very, very close, only a few meters apart. The reason they got so close, they did these advances, is because they knew if they were so close to the Germans wouldn't risk firing artillery there because it would endanger their own soldiers. So you had a lot of close quarter fighting, hand-to-hand fighting, bayonet fighting, and in October 1942, that was the worst fighting, and in November 1942, the Germans started running out of supplies. They started getting desperate. The Soviets started taking and holding most of the hill. By December 1942, the Germans had lost almost all of the hill, and by January 1943, only a week before the German surrender, the Soviets had taken the entire hill. And if you're wondering how many people died on this hill, over 35,000 Soviet troops died on this hill from 15 different countries, because the Soviet Union was comprised of just so many different countries. There 15 different nationalities that died on this hill. The majority of them were Russians, but you had a lot of different nationalities that also died on this hill, and 20,000 Germans died. So somewhere between 50 to 60,000 people died on this hill. In Volgograd, which is Stalingrad today, there is a massive statue that was actually built during the Soviet time, and it's the largest and tallest statue in Europe, and it shows a woman holding a sword. And that woman, it's the motherland calling. That's what that statue represents. The statue is supposed to represent the Soviet Union, and the sword is meant to call people to defend the motherland from the invaders. And so the hill today has a very big memorial site with an honor guard and eternal flame, and there is a burial site to those 35,000 soldiers. The Soviet Union lost the most amount of people during World War II. They lost between 8 to 11 million soldiers, and they also lost over 20 million civilians. So somewhere around 30 million Soviets died during World War II. Is the highest loss of any country in World War II, and it just shows the amount of sacrifices the Soviets had in defending their country and also helping to defeat Nazi Germany. Okay, let's do it here. Road to Stalingrad.
I've been sent to Russia to keep Hitler at bay, delivering anti-tank prototypes. The plan is to exchange the weapons with the Russians for info about something called Virus House. It's been linked to von Schrader, and they know where it's being kept. I'm moving forward with a Russian outfit. Our primary objective is to take out a German railgun in the village ahead. Additional orders are to come out with as much intel as possible. Situation is unpredictable. OSS says this guy Newman already knows I'm here. He may be hunting me. He may not be the only one.
Stalingrad was a miserable place. Bitter cold. The people there were trying to defend their city, and some of them didn't even have guns. They were getting slaughtered. Bodies everywhere. But they wouldn't quit. Those Russians would fight to their dying breath. I never forgot
that. When after 2 devastating years of war in Western Europe, Hitler diverted his attention to Russia. By October, Leningrad was besieged, and the Germans had reached the outskirts of Moscow. Hitler now took command himself, and against his general's advice, ordered an attack from the south, on Stalingrad. Not wanting to suffer another tactical defeat, he concentrated his forces in an all-out effort to take the city. Stalin decreed that his namesake would be valiantly defended by the people. They would use bullets, clubs, even bricks if necessary, to stop the Germans. For Stalingrad, surrender was not an option.
January 28, 1943. This is about 1 week before the 6th Army collapses in Stalingrad. They were pretty much screwed. They lost the battle at this point.
There is that damn rail gun. Our comrades across the river are taking a heavy beating from that devil. We have to take it out. And the radio tower. Quick! Let's go before it can do any more damage!
Wait! Someone's coming.
Don't shoot. It's me, Grigori. It's clear. There are only 2 guards at gate.
Dmitri, you move up to the farmhouse. I'll clear the gate for the others.
Very well, Comrade Holt. We will meet on the other side.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about Frederick Paulus here. Now, I don't know if that guy was Paulus that you saw in the Medal of Honor footage. It was a little hard to tell from that. But Paulus was in charge of the German 6th Army in Stalingrad. He was the general in charge of attacking Stalingrad and taking the city of Stalingrad. The 6th Army were the main German force inside Stalingrad. Now, about Paulus is Paulus was an old school German general. He was an older guy. He had served in the German military in World War I, in the Weimar Republic, and then in Nazi Germany. He was not a fanatical Nazi. I'm not saying he was a good person, but he was an old school, aristocratic soldier. He was not like fanatical like the SS people. Now, anyways, about Paulus is by November 1942, Paulus realized the situation was getting really bad in Stalingrad. Winter had kicked in, and German supply lines were being cut off. The Soviets were sending more soldiers across the Volga, and he realized the situation was getting very bad, and that Germany could not hold Stalingrad. He had asked Hitler for permission to withdraw the army from Stalingrad, and sometimes in warfare you need to retreat in order to protect your military, because if you stay in one place for too long, you're going to get surrounded, and then the entire army gets obliterated. If you retreat, you can at least save some parts of the army. Hitler refused. And this goes to show you what a idiot tactician Hitler was. Hitler didn't understand anything about these tactics. Hitler believed that any form of retreat was cowardice. He believed that through German willpower and belief in Nazism that the Germans would overcome and they would win. He said, you hold, you fight against the Soviets, and you win. He thought that Slavs were inferior, he thought that German Aryans were superior, and through willpower alone they would win. But that's not how things work. But anyways, what ends up happening is, by this, another month goes by, it's now December 1942, and then January 1943, the Germans are screwed. Their airfield had been cut off, they had no more supplies, they were done. They could not break out, they could not escape, they were surrounded. They were done for. They had nothing left. And Paulus now was promoted to Field Marshal by Hitler. And Hitler did not promote him to Field Marshal because he thought he was doing a good job. He promoted him to Field Marshal to get him to kill himself. Because in German history, there has never been a Field Marshal who has surrendered, ever. Field Marshals, historically, have either fought to the death or won. That was it. They had never surrendered. And so he promoted Paulus to Field Marshal so that he would have that pressure to not surrender. It was an extremely messed up thing. But Paulus knew exactly what Hitler was doing, and Paulus said, I have no intention of shooting myself for this Austrian corporal. When he says Austrian corporal, he's referring to Hitler, because Hitler was from Austria, and Hitler's rank in World War I was a corporal. Paulus was basically saying that Hitler was an idiot tactician, Hitler had no idea how the military worked, and he was also saying that Hitler was not a proper German. Hitler was from Austria. That is what he was saying about that. Now, the Soviets had promised Paulus that they would treat the German POWs fairly and give them medical attention, but that was not entirely true. The Soviets did not keep their word, and Paulus ended up surrendering. When Paulus surrendered, Hitler flew into a giant rage, saying how he betrayed Germany, he should have fought till the very end, and Paulus had a force of 90,000 soldiers that he surrendered. Out of those 90,000 soldiers, only 5,000 ended up surviving, because the Soviets ended up sending a lot of them to gulags, work camps, where a lot of them ended up dying. But the thing about this is, if you look at this from Paulus's perspective, Paulus really had no choice, because it was either you take your chances in Soviet captivity, or you die. That was it. There was really nothing else. There was no winning, there was no getting out of that situation. It was either you die there, or you take your chances in Soviet captivity. That's all Paulus could do. So Paulus didn't do anything wrong by surrendering. But that's, what an idiot Hitler was. Hitler didn't understand how things worked on the battlefield. He didn't understand tactics. If you want to know what ended up happening to Paulus, Paulus ended up surviving. He spent some time in several prisons in Russia and work camps, and then he ended up returning to East Germany. And then in East Germany, he became like a top politician. A lot of Germans regarded him as a coward, but that was probably because of a lot of his brainwashing that he had gone through in Siberia when he was in Soviet captivity. But that goes to show you, it was Hitler had basically tried to pressure a general into killing himself instead of allowing a tactical retreat, which he could have ended up saving his army. But because of Hitler's stupid arrogance and narcissism, he allowed his entire army to be destroyed and obliterated in Stalingrad. The soundtrack in the Soviet missions are really good. It shows you how hopeless Stalingrad was in the desperate situation, but this is also historically inaccurate right here, because you would not see a Gewehr 1943 in Stalingrad. The Germans carried Gewehr 1941s. There were some units that had them, but you didn't have Gewehr 1943s in Stalingrad.
American! Over here! They're waiting for you downstairs.
American, I have read your dossier. Zhukov may not trust you, but I say, any man willing to kill Germans is welcome among the partisans. We must take and hold the church on the east side of town. I will give to you some of my finest troops to command. Good luck, comrade. Go now.
Okay. GPSH, probably the best submachine gun in the game.
Over there! To the south! We must take that position on the hill!
See, map through here. Okay. Oh crap, okay, there we go.
Well done, comrade. Destroying that weapon spared many lives. Church will not be so easily taken. The Germans have an ammo dump just ahead. Destroy it.
Let's take out these side objectives here then. Crap, okay. One of three destroyed, okay. I don't know the logic in this, how like a tank can be destroyed in the old Medal of Honor games by grenades, but that's just Medal of Honor logic, right? Okay, let's see our objectives. What have we done so far? Eliminate Walter Newman, okay.
German headquarters is inside the church ahead of us. It is time, comrades, to crush the vermin once and for all. Move in!
You are doing, comrade. Now our reinforcements will come.
Die Ruskis haben das Munitionslager gesprengt! Macht sie fertig!
Cut off their communications. Destroy the radio tower in the courtyard.
We have stirred Hornet's nest, comrades!
Okay. Detonate this one next.
You're doing it, comrade. Their communications are done. Now get back to the charge and fight.
Okay, did we get all of the objectives here done? Okay, almost all of them.
Luci Patroni! Muss nachladen!
I think we had to kill everyone. Secure and defend the church. Oh,
Fight, comrades! Fight! We must defend church!
Taking the church!
Fought well, American. Soviet people are in your debt.
I like how you can just see Stalingrad in the background, how it's just such a ruined city. Climbing Mamayev Hill. Here we go.
The Russians have suffered greatly. Now they fight with a vengeance. Word is the info I'm looking for is close by, but I'll have to fight through hell to get it. The Russians are planning an attack today. I'll be with them. I have orders to recover and send Virus House info back to the OSS. This man is guarding it closely. The Russians want it too. I've been ordered to destroy the intel after transmission. HQ wants to keep it out of Russian hands. Feels like we're at a turning point.
Transmit Virus House intel to OSS. Eliminate Franz Grubner. Okay. Seal heavy water test logbook. Okay.
Today, comrades, our goal is not only victory. Our goal is vengeance. For the people, for Stalin, and for Russia!
There wouldn't be STG-44s in Stalingrad. This is pretty historically inaccurate. This weapon really didn't exist. There was a prototype of it called the MKB made around this time, but it wouldn't really see service here. I love the soundtrack on the Soviet missions. Is it gone? It's gone, yes. Nice. Perfect. Okay, a bazooka you actually could see in the Eastern Front. I know that might sound a little unrealistic, but it's more realistic than seeing an STG-44 in Stalingrad. The reason for that is because the Americans gave the Soviets a lot of weapons in Lend-Lease, and the Soviets didn't really have an anti-tank launcher in World War II. They relied on anti-tank rifles. There we go. Now we're making an advance. Tell my squad to go down there. I don't want them to die from the tank. There we go. Nazi armor taken down. Signal rocket strike. Okay, hold on.
You must set off that smoke signal! Хорошо, we see your signal. Find cover now!
Stalin himself should give you a medal!
Forward, up the hill! Take the victory!
Yes!
Our reinforcements are standing by. Blow the gate!
Oh, crap. Yep, here we go. Damn. Okay, well, at least I got a bunch of revives. There we go, he's dead. Okay.
Comrade Holt, I can see you. We're pinned down in the trenches. Suppress those machine guns!
PPSH also would have been an absolutely amazing weapon to use in Mamayev Kurgan. Would have been absolutely great for clearing out these trenches. Damn. The STG guys can take you down so quickly, but we still got revives left, okay.
Кончились патроны! У меня кончились патроны! Патроны кончились! Кончились! Прикрой меня! Ich muss nachladen! Da! Попал!
Okay, let's see. What do we got left to do here? Explore to unlock. Okay, one more bonus objective left.
Berichte verteidigen! Wir werden diese Geheimdienstberichte verteidigen! Koste es, was es wolle! Ай! Кончились патроны!
Oh, bazooka. Okay, perfect. Here we go. You would have to actually put wires into the rocket before firing it. It's not that quick as you see in World War II games. Oh. Radio intelligence to OSS.
Roger, all last transmission. Mission follows. Destroy all intel. And do it before the Soviets can get there. I'll copy. Over.
Okay, this is gonna be last objective here then.
You have been of great service to Soviet people. It is a pity that you will be leaving empty-handed. Perhaps it is for the best. До свидания, Comrade Holt.
Oh, okay. You have received the Order of the Patriotic War, first class for Russia. For people, that is actually historically accurate. That is that I'm actually very impressed that developers did that right there, because the in Russia, for example, they don't commonly refer to it as World War II. They commonly actually refer to it as the Great Patriotic War. So whenever you hear Russians say the Great Patriotic War, they're referring to World War II, or specifically the Eastern Front. when they say that. So Order of the Patriotic War, first class for Russia. That's pretty historically accurate. That is what they call it in Russia. Okay, so the final part now will be the Battle of the Bulge. I will have the next part out for you guys as soon as I can. Thank you guys for watching. Take care, everyone. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day.